Mr. Genius Facts presents 15 Most Haunted Places in the World, Part 1. No matter where you're traveling, you're sure to find some sort of haunted site, as well as a ghost tour to go along with it. So today, we'll be discussing the most haunted places in the world. Number 1. Fairmont, Banff Springs Hotel, Canada. Built in 1888 to encourage tourism and sell train tickets, this shadow-style hotel sits pretty by the Rocky Mountains in Banff National Park, but it gets more scary once you enter it. The Calgary Herald has reported several resident ghosts, including a bride who supposedly fell down the stone staircase during her wedding, and her ghost still roams around the hotel. But there's a less tragic spirit too. Sam, the bellman, who worked at the hotel until 1975 and claimed he'd come back to haunt the joint. His spirit supposedly pulled shifts, helping people with their bags before disappearing. Number 2. Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia. Number 4. Stanley Hotel, Estes Park, Colorado. The Stanley Hotel's stately Georgian architecture and world-renowned whiskey bar have lured travelers to Estes Park since opening in 1909, but the hotel reached new levels of fame after inspiring Stephen King to create The Shining's Overlook Hotel. The Stanley Hotel leans into its reputation with nightly ghost tours and psychic consultations from the in-house Madame Vera. Many other ghost sightings and some mysterious piano music have been connected to the hotel. Number 5. La Ricolada Cemetery, Buenos Aires, Argentina. The stone walkways and labyrinth of mausoleums are as eerie as they're beautiful, and Ricolada has a couple haunted legends of its own. One of the most famous stories involves David Elino, a former gravedigger and caretaker who worked at the cemetery for 30 years before killing himself. Today, people report hearing Elino's keys jangling as his ghost walks the pathways at dawn. Number 6. Tower of London, England. Built by William the Conqueror, this uncompromising fortress has had many functions. Most of them are just way too inevitable. It's best known for its bloody history as a prison and execution site. Henry VIII ordered the execution of 2 of his wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. Also, 2 young princes were imprisoned after the death of their father, King Edward IV. The princess disappeared shortly after in 1483, and their remains weren't found until 1647. Number 7. Jazeera, Alhamra, United Arab Emirates. Established in the 14th century, the town grew into a thriving pearl fishing village in the 1830s before it was suddenly abandoned in 1968. The town has 13 mosques and more than 300 coral and mud houses, and of course, resident spirits. People claim that visitors are bound to experience strange noises and chilling apparitions, usually genies in the form of animals. Number 8. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is visited by nearly 225,000 people annually, but it's just as well known for its otherworldly visitors. The ghost of a lighthouse keeper who fell to his death while painting the tower has been spotted watching over the grounds, and ever since the horrific death of 3 young girls who drowned while the cart they were playing in broke and fell into the ocean. Visitors have claimed to hear the sounds of children playing in and around the lighthouse. Number 9. Whaley House, San Diego, California. Thomas Whaley built his family estate in 1847 on the former site of San Diego's first public gallows. Shortly after he moved in, he reported hearing the heavy footsteps of a Yankee, Jim Robinson, a drifter and thief who was hanged on the site 4 years before it was built. Whaley's family history ended up being filled with tragic deaths and suicides, many of which occurred inside the home itself. Some of the family members still haunt the landmark, often accompanied by cigar smoke and the smell of heavy perfume. Number 10. Hill of Crosses, Lithuania. People have been placing crosses at this spot in northern Lithuania since the 14th century, and for various reasons throughout the medieval period, the symbols expressed a desire for Lithuanian independence. While the hill and crosses were bulldozed by Soviets 3 times, locals kept rebuilding it. There are now more than 100,000 crosses crowded together. Number 11. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. One of the biggest attractions in Scotland's capital city is also considered to be one of its most haunted. With sections dating back more than 900 years, the historic fortress's ancient dungeons have led visitors to the castle to report sightings of prisoners from American Revolutionary War. Moreover, people have seen ghost sightings of French prisoners from the 7 Years' War and even the ghost of a dog wandering the castle's dog cemetery. Number 12. Oblotny Canal, St. Petersburg, Russia. Running 5 miles through St. Petersburg, the Oblotny Canal goes by another much more sinister name, Suicide Canal. Ever since the artificial canal started being built in the late 18th century, weird events have been occurring. Some events include the construction workers complaining of headaches, sudden outbursts of violence, and of course, suicides. While most of the suicide attempts have been successful, people who have been saved claim that they don't know why they jumped in the water or invisible force. Some claim the force comes from restless souls lurking beneath the water, even claiming to see a woman in white floating just beneath the surface before suddenly disappearing. Number 13. Oriental Theater, Chicago. Ghosts are said to haunt the Oriental Theater in the Loop area of downtown Chicago, where almost 600 people perished after a fire famously broke out in 1903. The theater was rebuilt and rebranded. Spirits of the dead remained. Apparitions have been seen in Death Alley, the street behind the theater where bodies were kept after the disaster. Number 14. The Forbidden City, Beijing, China. You might not know that the popular tourist destination has quite the reputation among supernatural enthusiasts. During its 600-year tenure as a palace, the complex had its fair share of murders. There have been many reports of strange events since the palace opened to the public in the 1940s. Some murders were because of from jealous concubines poisoning one another, or executions performed at the emperor's behest. The most common story involves a woman dressed in white strolling around the grounds and sobbing. Number 15. Leap Castle, Kildare, Ireland. Built sometime between the 13th and late 15th century, this Irish castle has seen more gruesome deaths than a Game of Thrones wedding. As legend has it, during the struggle for power within the O'Carroll clan, which had a fondness for poisoning dinner guests, one member plunged a sword into his brother, a priest. The room is now called the Bloody Chapel, and the priest is said to haunt the church at night. During renovations, workmen found a secret dungeon in the Bloody Chapel with so many human skeletons. The dungeon was designed so that the prisoners would fall through a trapdoor and die. That's it, everybody. Goodbye.